Hey guys, welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 134, and today I want to talk to you guys about the sniper reunion that I just got back from. But before I get into it, if you could do me a huge favor, click that like button. It really helps out my channel. And while you're at it, if you have not yet hit that subscribe button with notification bell, go ahead and do that as well if you want to see more of these videos, okay? So, so if you watched my vlog last week, you're already aware that this past weekend I went to Texas to have a sniper reunion with several of my sniper buddies. Now, just a little bit of, kind of leading up to that. The reason we started doing these reunions again is because in 2015, our sniper platoon gunnery sergeant ended up passing away in a motorcycle accident. And so several of us ended up going to the funeral for that in Oklahoma. And we just kind of like all got back together again and like, man, it's actually nice to be together, even though we were there for a really, bad situation, a bad circumstance. But, when we were talking about it, our gunnery sergeant, the one who passed away, I don't think that anything would have made him more proud than to see his platoon of snipers actually getting together again and hanging out with each other and telling old war stories and stuff like that. So we decided, and I was a fourth-year extern in my graduate program, so I was already out here in the Phoenix area, and I just said, hey, why don't we just have everybody come out to my place and we'll host it for a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, have people come out, we'll just hang out. And we had about, 10 to 12 guys show up for that first reunion that we did. That would have been in early 2016, I believe. Since that point, we've had a couple of other ones. We had one out in California. I was not able to make that one. We had one in Texas, and it was basically 4 years ago. I forget, that would have been 2018. So we had one 16, 17, 18 was the last one that we had. COVID ended up happening and all of that, so we weren't able to actually get back together. And so, as you guys know, we were able to actually meet back up out in Texas again this year for our reunion. And kind of funny thing leading into is that I had an interview with Carl Strom from hearingtracker.com, and I'm like, oh, I'm headed out this weekend. I got to get this interview done, have a couple other phone calls on this past Friday morning, and after that I got to run right to the airport to get out to Texas. And he's like, well, what do snipers do? Well, like, are you guys like normal people? Like, do you do normal people things, or do you do like cool sniper stuff? And I'm like, well, yeah, I think it's normal stuff that we do, normal human being stuff. But then I started thinking about, well, maybe, Marine Corps Scout snipers are not necessarily normal people. And so what's normal to me might not be normal to someone who's never served in the military, and in particular in a more kind of elite unit like a sniper platoon. And so the funny thing is that when we got out there, my buddy, one of the guys, and I don't know how much I should share or can share on this, so I'm not going to name any names or anything like that, but I have the buddy who's out there. He has a lot of different weapon systems that we could actually take to the range and shoot. So we ended up reserving a 4-hour range spot there in Fort Worth, Texas. Very friendly to former military and current police officers and all of that, so that was fantastic. But we were able to rent a range. I think there was about 6 of us who went out there to shoot, including one of my buddy's kids, and then one of my buddy's wives came out there, and we all got to go out there and shoot. And it was, pistol, rifle, all of that, and it was really, really cool. Now, I know, there's some individuals who see, gun use right now. I understand that it's a big political issue and all of that, but what I'll say is this. When you've served in the military, a form of bonding that you have with your brothers is going to the range and shooting, and doing it with the intent of, potentially needing to use that in combat, and on top of that, in order to defend yourselves when you're in a combat zone. And so when you're going out there and taking it so seriously when you're in the military, it becomes almost like this way of bonding with other individuals. And it's also a big stress reliever as well. Anyone who shoots regularly or shoots for a therapeutic purpose, you would totally understand that. You know, different people do different things to relieve stress and to bond with other individuals. You know, some people like to drive fast cars, some people like to go get massages, some people like to work out, some people like to, you know, whatever the case may be. People do different things to relieve stress. And I think that something that's really big for current and former military members and probably even, you know, individuals on the police force is that shooting is a way to relieve stress. It's a way to hone your skills. So if you ever need to use, heaven forbid, as a civilian, if you ever need to use, you know, force to protect yourself and your family, it's something that you're trained well enough and competent enough to actually do and do responsibly. So, you know, I don't shoot a whole lot, to be honest, and I live out here in Arizona, and you know, a lot of people like to shoot out here, and so if I ever wanted to, I can always go out and shoot. I've shot a number of times out here in Arizona, but it's different when you get to go with your military buddies and go shoot. So I'm really looking forward to having other reunions so we can go and do more of that. Now, when we shot, it was a really, really hot day. It's like 100+ degrees in Texas, heat wave coming through, you know, not a whole lot of rain in that area that we were in. I think Texas is kind of going through a drought right now, but we were out there for 4 hours in the sun, shooting, doing a whole bunch of different pistol drills and rifle drills. And it was really, really cool, to be honest. And we shot, I don't know how many thousands of rounds that we shot on that particular day, but it was definitely an enjoyable experience. Completely exhausted when we got done, and then we went back and ate a bunch of Texas barbecue that my buddy cooked up, and it was fantastic. So it was a really good time out there. And then on top of that, you do like any military guys would do, is you just share stories of, you know, back in the good old days. When you think about it, I mean, I went in the military, I went in the Marine Corps in 2002. I was in till 2006. So, you know, getting to spend time with guys almost 20 years ago at this point. And we've all kind of gone off in our different directions, but it's really cool that we can just come right back up together and just, you know, carry on like we were never separated. I mean, it's just really, really cool. It's a very unique bond that you have with guys that you serve with in the military. You go through a lot of pain together. You go through a lot of stress together. You have, you know, life and death situations. You lose people that you should not be losing, meaning, you know, guys get killed in combat that everyone knows. And it's a really bonding thing. And so it's one of those things where you cannot experience that unless you have gone through something that is that type of environment. I really can't explain it. You guys probably understand what I'm talking about. It was a really good experience, and I can't wait to do the next one. Now, I will say this, to tie in the topic of audiology, it is very important to make sure that when you go and do things that involve a lot of noise, like shooting guns, that you wear hearing protection. I'm actually a really big fan of using double hearing protection because obviously as an audiologist right now, I see the damage that can occur if you are not protected well enough with using hearing protection. And, you know, I actually did not really know that we were going to be shooting this time that we went out. I didn't even take my rifle to go out and shoot out in Texas. It was actually a nice surprise that we got to go out and do that. Nevertheless, I didn't take any of my hearing protection because I just didn't think that that's something we were going to be doing. So when we got to the range, I actually bought a pair of foam insert hearing protectors, which are my personal favorite, and then I actually used earmuffs over the top of those to give some additional noise reduction rating. And the thing that I noticed was I didn't feel like the hearing protectors that I put inside my ears were actually that good. And so when I put them in, I'm like, yeah, you know, and I had them in nice and deep. I just didn't feel like they were being giving me enough attenuation of sound or bringing the volume of sound down enough. So I'm like, yeah, I'm taking another pair and putting them over the top of my ears. I don't care if it's 100 degrees out, but I probably lost, and I don't have 10 pounds to lose, but I probably lost 10 pounds out there shooting. That's really the main thing though from this last week is, you know, it's good to meet up with people. It's good to hang out with people that you haven't hung out with in a while. I'm hoping that more guys actually come to future reunions. I might host the reunion next year. A couple other guys might host the reunion next year, but and hopefully we end up going out and shooting again. And then the other thing here is that make sure you protect your hearing anytime you're doing something loud. So this next week is a really exciting week. I'm only in the office 2 days this next week, and I'm going to another conference. We're making a big announcement at that conference. When I come back that week, we're going to be doing the podcast, the first live video podcast, and we will be taking questions from the audience. So do me a favor, if you have a audiology related question, the topic of this first podcast episode that we're going to be doing is like, what is an audiologist? What do they do? So if you have something that is somewhat contextual to an audiologist, or what makes an audiologist different from somebody else, or whatever the case may be, make sure that you leave your comment in the description of this video. And if it's a good question, we will of course answer it in live time on the show. We do believe that we will progress to having a call-in show where you'll actually call in when we're on the show live and ask your question, and if we're like, that's a pretty good question, we're going to bring you on and have you actually ask that question live on the air. And so I think that that's just a really cool way to kind of make every episode be a little bit more personal to what you guys are looking for from a hearing loss, hearing aid related content perspective. So make sure that you guys are tuning in, that the podcasts are going to be every Wednesday. So it's going to start Wednesday, August 17th, and they are going to be at 4 p.m. Arizona time. Now keep in mind that Arizona time does not change. So when you go through a time zone change, the time for the show, the live show, is going to be different for you. But I don't think that doesn't happen until the fall, so we have a little ways before that happens. But again, make sure that you leave your questions down in the description of this video, and I will periodically be checking the description of all of my videos to see if there are specific questions that would be great to answer inside of these live podcasts. So that is all that I want to talk about today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. If there's people that you have not reached out to and hung out with in a long time that you feel like would be good for your soul, make sure that you reach out to them. And as always, I'll see you next week.